Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the CyberPowerPC Spring Overwatch Invitational. I'm ZP here with Hex, and coming up next, we have LG Evil versus Splyce. LG Evil, once dominant, now struggling. Splyce, fighting for relevance at all after being sponsored for months without big results. A lot at stake here for both teams. Hex, what are your thoughts as we go into this?
Well, I would tend to say that LG Evil should have the advantage here. Splyce knows that LG Evil is very good on control maps. They ended up throwing out a couple bans, and we'll look at those in a bit. I will say about the Splyce roster, I mean, you look up and down it, and there is pure talent. Just pure talent up and down. Graceful is, I think, still at the top of the ladder right now. Baby Bay is a very good player. Michael's a veteran from closed beta, so they should have some leadership there. So they have all the pieces. The big question is, can they put it together? And LG Evil, we've seen them put it together, and we've seen them play a lot of different styles. I'm not sure what their issue necessarily has been lately. Maybe it's a fact that people are getting game tape on them. Not entirely sure, but we know their potential as well. Very recently, they were able to beat Cloud9.
LG Evil is an interesting case where you go back, of course, to the Carbon series where they looked unstoppable for most of it, and then they faltered towards the end. And you take a look at their performance in recent monthly melees, it has been a trend downward. Now, part of that is that they were once known for being one of the best quad tank teams, and that meta went away, but they did well for a long time after that meta shifted, Hex, and it's only been in recent times where, I think as you alluded to, they've been figured out by teams. There's a lot more game tape on them, and I think weaknesses that they have been exploited a little bit more heavily. Cases where someone like Jake, who used to get a lot more room, now gets focused rather heavily. So I am curious to see what LG Evil does here, but it's also as much of a proving ground for Splyce, where, for those who don't know, Splyce has a lot of members of the old Kangarna roster where they got second in the NGE Grand Final at LAN, and then half their team was absorbed by the now defunct TSM, and the other half has been with Splyce, where not much of anything has happened with them, really.
I think if you're Splyce, your best chance is to try to emulate Selfless, because LG Evil has lost 3 times to Selfless in the last month, and they've lost 0-2 to them every single time. So obviously there's something about the style that Splyce plays, or that Selfless plays rather, which is just extremely aggressive, constantly fighting, take as many fights as possible, which used to be kind of an LG Evil style, but they're getting out-aggroed by teams. I think that's Splyce's best choice, is to look at what Selfless does and try to emulate that. Of course, saying that and doing that are two different things.
All right, so let's take a look here at the map draft, which is underway, and we'll get an idea of just what these teams want to go for here in the drafting process.
Well, something in chat must have tickled your fancy. You see you just grinning at the screen. You're so
absolutely. Look, sometimes you're in Sideshow's shed and he's peering wistfully behind you. It's the type of thing that just happens randomly while casting. But taking a look at the map draft as it takes place here, I think one thing that's striking out to me here is that it does look like Splyce wants no part of control, and yet LG Evil, when they had the run of dominance, Hex, they really liked being on control, and it feels like they're prioritizing it here once again.
Yeah, and I think maybe that is part of the trying to adapt the Selfless style, because it's very hard to spawn camp on controls, which is Selfless's go-to move, but you can spawn camp on escort maps, and you can spawn camp on hybrid maps as well. So I think banning out control would be really smart. LG Evil's control game has been very strong. There are some control maps they've struggled on, most notably Nepal. So they aren't bulletproof on control for sure, but it probably still is their best map type.
No doubt about it, and I mean, it is interesting because they had a period where they were basically undefeated on it, even on Nepal, where they did admittedly have some degree of issues from time to time, but it was really in recent times where teams finally cracked the code and they were able to deal with it, and I think part of it came down to the part where LG Evil, in part, they had to relearn how to initiate, but you think back to when they were able to run Reinhardt all the time and they didn't have to run Winston, they're much better at running Rein-based initiations with more tanks involved than they are at sort of emulating a rogue style with a mere Winston dive-in, because there's a big difference in just how fights start for them, where LG Evil in their heyday, they could count on getting the first kill in most fights, where LG Evil now, oftentimes you'd find Super getting picked off because everyone wasn't on the same page. So I am curious to see where LG Evil stands on control points right now.
Well, Super is a better Ryan than he is a Winston. I think he's a fine Winston, but his Ryan is next level. Another person to watch for the LG Evil team is Train, and when they're doing their best, Train, I think, is playing Diva. I think it's his best hero, and it opens things up for Jake. I would also be worried about Jake sometimes. For some reason, he just can't figure out Sanctum. It doesn't matter what hero he is on, his positioning on Sanctum has been pretty poor, whether that is on Soldier 76 or on Genji. And if he runs Genji, a big question for Jake is, can he get value when he doesn't have Dragon Blade? He seems like an ultimate Genji where most of his kills come off of his ult, but it's not necessarily the dash throughs and the primaries that some other Genjis can have success with.
Indeed. So, just waiting here to get started for the series. I do believe, are both teams ready? It does look like they're ready, so we should be able to get in game here in just a moment. Any early predictions as we do look in to get in the Paul for the first map?
Well, I would have to just, I don't know if you want a map score or anything. I haven't seen enough of the Splyce team to really have any confidence in them, and considering how the bans and everything went down, having 2 control maps, I'd say I favor LG Evil.
Also, I got you baited. I thought it was Lijiang first, but in-game it was on Nepal. Now it's on Lijiang, so it's going to be Lijiang first, which certainly I think favors LG Evil a bit more than does Nepal, where Nepal, it's been an up and down relationship for them, to say the least.
But yeah, Nepal, I mean, again, I mentioned Sanctum has just been a struggle for them early on. A lot of that is just overall positioning, and again, their star DPS, who was probably one of the best DPS in North America at the very least for a month stretch, Jake, seems to just struggle on Nepal overall, but he has been picked up by Train a lot of times. Another big player to watch for this LG Evil team is going to be Rob, because he does a lot of great healing. Sometimes they even rely on him solo healing, so a lot of players to watch. And also Shake apparently is trying out for this Splyce team, or maybe is, and Shake, of course, I think of Complexity Fame.
Complexity Flame. If you actually leaked the brand new roster for Complexity where Flame is making his grand return to competition, the world may never know. But it will be interesting to see Shake here, because Shake has often been thought to be one of the better parts of the Complexity roster, so trying out here, who knows what's going on in Complexity, but it could be a breakout mode for Shake and Zenyatta, which has been great in the past.
Well, we do have some Cowboy on the field, and that's Baby Bay is going to be playing the McCree for them. So far, pretty boy, Shake does get very low, taken out by Jake. Jake gets 2 kills right off the bat.
Jake coming in with some very strong Genji play, and sometimes Jake has been seen as a Dragon Blade Genji, where he gets a lot of his kills off Dragon Blade alone. Well, 3 kills there to start things out, a much better opening. You know things are going to be good when Jake starts out by killing Shake.
I knew we were going to get into the Jake and Shake momentarily. Perhaps we will have throughout this entire map. Baby Bay has to be a little bit careful. An aggressive combat roll forward, but still able to just get some poke in through the courtyard. They will rotate and prioritize the point, will Splyce, as they try to get on it, but now they're just setting themselves up to get fought up.
Jake already at the Dragon Blade pulls it out, but is immediately shut down by Baby Bay. 4 versus 4 in this fight, and yet certainly momentum the way of LG Evil as Baby Bay takes the long ride down to the pavement. Actually, it's not that long. He went splat just a few seconds ago.
Well, even with Jake going down early, which I think is a nice sign from Baby Bay, people forget that McCree can be a pretty solid counter to a Genji, if not just a deterrent, because a Genji doesn't really want to go in after taking a shot to the dome or anything like that. So if you can just get shots on him, you can deter a Genji. Baby Bay will have his ultimate up. We talked about Deadeye earlier. I'd be surprised to see what value they get out of this.
Dragon Blade coming out from Graceful finds Jake immediately. Splyce looking to pull this back, but even with the Dragon Blade, Graceful gets 1 and then is completely out of position to do more. It's 5 versus 5. The Transcendence is going to be used, and there's potential for LG Evil to still pull this back. Certainly, Hex, they're buying time while they have control of the point and forcing out the sound barrier.
Well, Transcendence is on both sides. Baby Bay finds a peeking Train with that Deadeye, so he's going to still be alive. It's just Jake trying to get something done. He's actually going to jump out of there and let Super take the fall for him. Jake just wants to come in here and stall out, get as much time on this ticker as possible, but that will be a team kill. Will probably end up a little bit at 80%, 79 to be 100% accurate before Splyce is able to finally take this point.
And for Splyce, now they have to hold for effectively the rest of the map. Plenty of time for LG Evil to win a fight and punch this one in. Now, what is worth knowing is looking at Remix's position here. He's going to drop down. Was looking for the team cleave, but all he got was Jake, and is going to be zoned out a bit here early on, ends up being a lot of damage and has to pop Primal Rage earlier than he would have liked. LG Evil luring Splyce into a tight corridor, and we know that this is where LG Evil loves to play. They love playing indoors in buildings like this, and so far it's 5 versus 5, but again, more momentum the way of LG Evil.
Yeah, they pick up the couple late kills on Shake and Michael, and that should be enough for them. And yeah, they generally like to fight in corridors, but that's usually when Super is on Reinhardt and he's able to just swing his hammer. There is no one who likes just WM1ing as Reinhardt more than Super, but he's able to do it as Winston there as well, getting all of that cleave damage. And now desperation time for Splyce, as they're going to have to sacrifice positioning just to touch the point.
Crane throws up the pulse bomb, doesn't quite connect early on. Graceful will have a chance to come out here with this Dragon Blade, but with Baby Bay being down, he has to wait for the Transcendence to fade. Waiting, now the blade comes out. Looking to slice anyone that might be in his way, but he's getting booped and bopped around. The sound barrier eliminates any targets he could have, and he's going to fall, as LG Evil should be able to hold on to this point and take the first round.
It's just Michael here trying to keep it alive, doing a good job of it, but it will finally fall as the Tracer. They will get Pure in there momentarily, but that is it. LG Evil takes the first stage of Lijiang Tower.
And I gotta say, by the way, if there was a handbook for fighting LG Evil, something that was proven out over game after game that we've watched them, it is, if you can avoid fighting them in a close quarter situation, do so. You don't need to fight them oftentimes in the midst of a tiny corridor. Usually you have other options to engage them, and they're much weaker when you fight them in the open field. I feel like Splyce did not quite do their homework for how they took a few of those engagements there, particularly when they went in on that right side.
Yeah, I mean, I do admire Splyce sticking with this McCree, mostly just because I like watching McCree, but Baby Bay is also a very excellent Soldier 76, and one of the reasons you see less McCree is a lot of people think Soldier is just overall better in most situations. He is going to stick on it again. This can be a map that McCree can be good at if he gets the space and to operate in this corner, but he's going to have to go against 2 dive tanks.
Well, he's going to get Winston in his face to start things out here. Lucky to get out alive. The Zen was there with the support. 5 versus 5 early on. Rob 420 out of the fight. But again, he just has Super in his face, and Super gets his man with the 8 of Vol. The dive tanks of LG Evil just crushing the Splyce backline.
Yeah, it's very difficult composition to run against these kind of tanks, because even if you're able to deal with the Winston, you still have to deal with the D.Va later, and now you see Baby Bay is going to switch off of the McCree onto 76, trying to get a little more consistent damage. The initiation will come in over the top from Remix, trying to get something going, but they're very segmented off, and Remix goes down.
Remix gonna fall early on here as LG Evil sitting pretty on the point right now. They're not really under that much pressure, and with Splyce being down 1 already, they can't go in, and Train drops a pulse bomb for good measure, doesn't connect, but doesn't need to connect as Super is there for the cleanup anyways.
Yeah, it's been difficult for them to find the correct initiation, and I think it's just really well played by LG Evil that the moment Remix jumps in, they send their tanks past him. They're not really worried about it. Remix can fight his own battles there, and they just segment them off over the bridge. Here's another jump in from Remix, and it's going to force the Transcend.
What a sound bear by Voss. He was down to 6 health when that hit. Barely saved himself. Flips the fight as LG Evil now able to counter-engage off of that support ultimate. They get 3 kills to 1, and Jake can save the... Well, he could have saved the Dragon Blade, but sometimes when you want blood, Hex, you go out for blood. What can I say?
The dragon must be fed, the dragon must be sated. If they come in over the bridge again, I'm going to be really, really surprised, because they simply are just getting cut in half every time they do it. They send someone in over the top, generally Remix, and then Vol just comes in and tries to sweep them off the bridge, and they get in all sorts of trouble. That Pulse Bomb will miss from Train, but they're coming in over the bridge again.
They're gonna have to attack Visor Transcendence this, and the Transcendence is just in time. Keeps Baby Bay alive in this fight, as Baby Bay is getting the damage he needs, multiple targets, gives 2 quick kills here to Splyce. Soundbear comes in, and I don't know if they needed that there, Hex. In fact, they didn't need it there. They had that fight more than 1, and when they broke it down, they already had 4 kills. That is a big misusage of ults there by Splyce, and it's gonna come back and bite them, as LG Evil only needs to win 1 more fight.
Yeah, the thing that forced out that sound barrier was the percentage being at 93%. They wanted to make sure they won that fight, had to use everything, and you're right, it is probably going to bite them in the back here. Primal Rage popped by Super as he's looking to knock people off the edge, causing all sorts of chaos. Vol will desuit Graceful. Shake already down, so that's half the healing gone for Splyce.
Super just mercilessly hunting down Baby Bay. 2 jumps and it's over. Almost every kill going the way of LG Evil there, and unfortunately for Splyce, they didn't have the resources to deal with that level of engage, and it probably goes back to them using the sound barrier late in the last fight. LG Evil will retake the point, and now Splyce needs an abject miracle to stay in on this point. They have to throw their bodies at it, but Jake is right there with the punish.
Yeah, Pure is going to be the last one here on the point. A sound barrier will come off for LG Evil to try to close this one out. Just Graceful remaining. He's going to pop the self-destruct to buy a little space. Transcend also forced out on the point. They're doing their best, but no red in the kill feed. Not a great sign for Splyce.
So Splyce already backs against the wall, and I think for me, even though LG Evil has had some rough times recently, I do feel like there is more at stake here for Splyce. Because, again, you look at their history. They have been sponsored for months. They have been practicing in the TD Garden up in Boston. So they've been given a lot of support, a lot of opportunities. And yes, this is single limb, so it gives them less of a chance. But if they go down to LG Evil here, even if it's because LG Evil is playing well, it doesn't send a great message to the Splyce organization, so this is tough here for Splyce. We'll see if they can make a reverse sweep within the map, but it's not looking good for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, just based on how it's looked so far, they have to be concerned about just taking maps and things like that, because it has been pretty one-sided here. The only fight they won last time was with an overwhelming ultimate advantage, and they didn't even necessarily play that perfectly. So you're right, there is a lot at stake for this organization.
Both teams right now trading off poke early on, as we see Remix going in pretty deep and striking pay dirt. Baby Bay is there to follow through. He lives as Winston despite going in that deep, and the early 2 kills going to Splyce, they've set themselves up much better here early on than they did in previous rounds, and yet Vol and Train keeping the ability open for LG Evil to come back in, even if they do temporarily lose control.
Yeah, it's a nice couple kills to try to even things out, so now if they get a couple more, they're going to be in a great spot. That's a great start as Jake focuses down Shake, who caught himself out in the corner. 2 quick kills mean it's going to be very difficult for Splyce to stay in this. Now near impossible as Rob hits a nice headshot onto Michael. They will flip it back over, having yielded only 18%.
And LG Evil never really in danger there, where, yeah, they lost 2 people and they lost a point, but they just regrouped, went back in, had a very good initiation, and immediately stole it right back. Now, the person that I want to see have a good moment here is Graceful. It's been a relatively quiet game for him so far. He's about to have a Dragon Blade up in good circumstances. This is where he can drop the Dragon Blade right about now, before support ults really can ruin his day, but he might have waited too long here. Now the sound barrier comes up, and it's going to force him way back, and he gets nothing done with this Dragon Blade. In fact, just has Drake chasing him off the edge! Oh my word, that not only was a fail, that was comical.
That was such a spiteful Dragon Blade, dude. He didn't need it. The Dragon Graceful was already running away. Graceful had already given up on the fight, and Jake popped his Dragon Blade just to chase him down.
It was like a slasher fic, man, where you see the guy coming in there, it's just like, there's nothing you can do, the suspenseful music is playing, and you just die. Well, speaking of dying, Baby Bay also dying immediately early on here as LG Evil out positioning Splyce, catching them off guards, basically bisecting them, and Jake feasting to the tune of 3 kills before it's all said and done.
I mean, the bisecting has been a theme so far. Every time they try to come in as 6, LG Evil finds a good angle to cut them in half, and a lot of it has been because of Vol and Super on these dive tanks. They are not responding to the dive of Splyce. They're simply going in and saying, our guys can take on your guys in uneven fights here, and so far they've been right.
Well, Splyce down to one of their final opportunities here. 85% for LG Evil. Sound barrier is used. It's high noon, and yet nobody is biting. No kills here for Splyce despite the ultimate investment. Finally, they get the Lucio. 6 versus 5. Can they convert? Graceful looking for good targets here as the D.Va gets demeched, and this is looking a bit better for Splyce as overtime kicks in the progress.
But it was, again, a fight that they had to use a lot on. Baby Bay with a late cleanup is nice, as McCree has been decent. It's just about finding space for him. They used a lot of ultimates there, very reminiscent of the last stage, where the fight that they won was a fight that they invested a lot into. Luckily for them, the economy on the side of LG Evil not in all that great of shape either, but LG Evil has shown that they can win fights more vanilla than Splyce has. That's a nice
Right now,
pulse
we
bomb.
do see LG will come back, but Michael with the Pulse Bomb sets things off right. Jake with the Dragon Blade immediately shut down. So the hit scan DPS of Splyce coming in much bigger here on this fight, able to get rid of what was otherwise going to be a decent LG Evil engage. Still though, 50%, they have 2 to 3 fights that they have to win here, Hex, as things get more even in terms of ults between the two teams.
Well, this is the other side that we have to see from Splyce. A lot of teams struggle to take the point, but can they hold the point? They haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to do so, so now it's a different side of things in Control. Okay, is your defense going to be okay? They're trying to jump really deep in the backline. They want Baby Bay in a bad way.
Baby Bay having to back off for his life here. Late Deadeye coming out, but everyone has pieced out. No targets left for him at that point. 5 versus 5, but they give up the point with 5 people still up. Now they're stuck fighting for their lives where they could get stalled out to infinity. This is a bad situation for Splyce that could get worse. They do demech Vol, and Baby Bay is coming off in the flank looking for more position. Not a bad spot to be in right now as a McCree looking for it, but Jake taking him down. Still though, Jake running without a whole lot of teammates there, and what the takeaway there is that LG Evil bought themselves another team fight. That could have been all Splyce needed, but because they got off the point, LG Evil gets one more attempt, and they're going to have a lot of resources to do it.
Shake was always my MVP on Complexity. I don't think he really ever put down any bad game tape, even when Complexity had been struggling, and he has been showing up huge with discords and killing people as well. Though it's a nice pulse bomb again to start it off.
Well, Avos is down. That means there's no sound barrier. They had sound barrier up and loaded. This is a much better opening here for Splyce. Dragon Blade out from Graceful, looking for revenge. Dashing in over the top. 3, now 4 kills from the side of Splyce, and it's looking like they have reverse course here as Baby Bay ends the game, or ends the round with a bit of a bang.
So I think Shake played great there. Over the last 2 fights, I will give MVP to Michael because he opened up both of those last 2 fights with pulse bomb kills on supports. That effectively cripples a team when you only have half the healing you expect. He got the Zenyatta one time, he got a Voss the second time. You mentioned he was holding on to sound barrier, so that was a beautiful play. And I gotta say, Baby Bay's McCree has been good. He's run the most effective McCree today. His primary has been working out really well for them.
I think what we saw there towards the end, though, was the power of McCree in uneven fights, where it's much more difficult to get on McCree when you are down a player, and LG Evil was down a player to start things out in multiple fights because of Michael landing pulse bombs early on. The problem is that I don't think you can rely on that over the course of multiple rounds. It worked out very well for them on Control Center, which is a pretty good map to trace to begin with, line of sight-wise. We'll see if he can do it again here in the night market, but it's certainly going to be difficult.
Well, you can sound barrier out of a pulse bomb stick, so I'm surprised Avos didn't do it. Pure has actually done it to me before. It's one of my most hated memories of closed beta, but that is 2 quick kills from Splyce, but evened up 4v4.
Super and Jake doing work into the backline. Jake still very much a threat. Super picks up another. Jake, he might fall, but while he was falling, the rest of LG Evil was taking position on the point. Still though, Michael back into the fight, able to take down Super. Splyce ends up pulling this more in their favor than not before it is all said and done, and suddenly Train stuck in a very unfavorable 1v3.
I said Michael's Tracer has been nothing short of impressive so far. Maybe it took him a stage to get warmed up, but he has been absolutely ravaging both the tanks and everything else. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. When the tanks jump in, they try to bisect Splyce. You need to fall back and deal with them, and Michael's been doing just that. Another pulse bomb hits Vol. Vol's demech.
It gets Vol out of the mech early on. It's another good opening here where LG Evil now not really getting the engages they're looking for, and so long as Michael can keep up this trend of landing good pulse bombs early on, it's making things far more difficult for LG Evil as Jake bites the dust towards the very end.
I mean, it's just the synergy of how it works. If he starts off with a pulse bomb, then they're in an uneven fight, and then Baby Bay is able to clean up. We've seen it time and again. Now, if they start getting Graceful to have even more impact than he's having, then they should just be rolling through this right now. I just really like how they're responding to what LG Evil's trying to do with them. They're just not letting them get into fights.
Well, we say that Jake is a Dragon Blade Genji. Let's see the Dragon Blade come out, because he already has to pull this fight back. 2 teammates are dead, and actually, I think Jake's just gonna cap the point here. He will get the point, but his entire team has died in the process. Not the greatest prize as he immediately goes towards the pavement.
I hate that strategy. They do it, not just this team, but a lot of teams will do it on Nepal as well, and they'll just cap the point. But what are you really gaining there? Is 5% worth an absolutely lost team fight to go in there completely nerf like that, to give them an odd number advantage? I see teams do it all the time, and I just don't understand it.
I'm no mathematician, but the answer is no. Jake now, coming on the back, has the Dragon Blade up, and this time it really is up to him. Deflection is up, and there it is! Baby Bay tasting his own Peacemaker bullets on a failed Deadeye. And Jake, not done yet. Dragon Blade coming out, looking for more, and not gonna get it. The sound barrier ruins his day, and Graceful is there to protect his man. So Splyce still able to potentially win this fight, despite Baby Bay feeding the Deadeye into a deflection.
Well, meanwhile, LG Evil has taken control of the point, and it will keep ticking up. Now you're just seeing stall tactics, so I see Primal Rage, you see Sound Barrier. They're trying to just make this fight last as long as possible, and now they get 3 kills, so it's in the realm of possibility.
Train getting away with his life, just barely 3 HP. Not quite as stylish as 1 HP, but it's enough. Goes in, finds Michael, and kind of baits out the Dragon Blade here. Makes Graceful use it. Oh, Graceful is getting rope and doped so hard right now. Not able to catch on the train. It's up to Remix to actually deal with him in the very end. Still Splyce in good position as they stall things out. It's certainly desperation time from LG Evil, and yet 3-1 towards the end. They might just retake this yet.
I mean, they've had it the entire time is the thing. That's why the early cap was nice. I think that was their plan early on of sending Jake over. Of course, it ended up with 5% and then nothing else, but they wanted to have a very long, drawn-out fight and then come over and help and just stall out the cap and hopefully bring it back, and that's exactly what they've done. That was beautiful. It started at like 10%, and now they're at 70.
Jake dash resets deep into the back of Splyce, gets exactly what he wants, 3 kills, and builds up Dragon Blade to boot. This is going to come down to one final fight here on the night market. Splyce trying to fight this back and get the reverse sweep within the map. LG Evil looking to finish things out. Jake certainly the one to watch as we roll into what should be the last fight.
Oh, they will definitely at least get some more stall, too, as Super is going to have Primal Rage ready. We'll see if Train can hit a Pulse Bomb a la Michael. They do go off. It does not find what it's looking for, but Primal Rage is out on both sides. Jake gets a couple kills.
Jake does enough. He finds Pure riding on the wall, 2 slashes, and he's down. Train there with the rest of the follow through, and Splyce dying one by one, bit by bit. You might be able to stick a fork in them, Hex, because they are done. That's going to be LG Evil taking map number 1 relatively easily. There was a little bit of blowback from Splyce towards the end, but not enough. And now the question is, what will Splyce do as we roll forward? Bear in mind, too, that this was LG Evil's pick.
It was. You expect the team to be able to defend the map that they've chosen. So, I mean, a lot depends on if Splyce can hold their own home turf on their map pick next. So they did. There were signs of life, right? As the match went on, it did seem that at least Splyce was fighting back a little bit more. Yeah, I see what they were trying to do with that 5%, because they did pull it off a little later where they kind of ninja cap and then stall out a long fight. Of course, it looks really bad when you trade like that and then get 5%, but I see the strategy employed at least.
So, looking forward here, Lijiang Tower was LG Evil's map pick. The next map that we're going to be going to is Watchpoint Gibraltar. We've seen quite a bit of LG Evil on Gibraltar to mixed results. They're very hit or miss. It's either LG Evil baits you into fighting them in the server room, in the closed off room and hangar phase, and you lose the game, or you take LG Evil to the outside and you win the game. If Splyce knows about this, they do have a game plan to deal with LG Evil and get away from their safe zones. What I don't want to see going in here is to see Splyce go in and try and fight LG Evil on their territory, because even for Rogue, those weren't fights that Rogue could take. And if Rogue can take it, I don't think it bears well for Splyce, so I hope Splyce has done their homework moving into this next map.
I really want to see what Splyce's defense looks like here, because are they going to take the page out of Selfless and fight up front and in front of what former Car Wash used to be and just force fights out there? Or are they going to rely on their excellent distance hit scan in Baby Bay on McCree or Baby Bay on 76 and sit back on the ledge, which is a style you don't see very often anymore either? So it's going to be very indicative of how Splyce is playing, if they're going the more Selfless style or they've got their own style all their own. I think you can rely on Baby Bay hitting the shots you need, and Gibraltar's a map that you can get a lot of that distance on. It's very hard for offense to close distance on some of these fight points.
No doubt about it. And for Baby Bay, I do think we need to see him on Soldier here. This is on Gibraltar, given the sight lines that you have, not only on Soldier, but oftentimes you want to talk about close relatives to McCree and just mechanical practice, this is also a map where we've seen a lot of good work come out from Widows recently, particularly in Apex, if you've been paying attention to that. So I would like to see Splyce potentially mess around with the idea of a Widowmaker. The key for them is going to be baiting LG Evil out of the hidey holes that they really like staying in. If they can do that, if they can get the line of sight, I think it could work out very well for them, but we'll just have to see how it goes down as we are loading into map number 2, Watchpoint Gibraltar.
And if we go to the second point here, of course, a lot of that is so momentum driven. I think more than any other map, Watchpoint Gibraltar's second really depends on how good did that last fight go for you. Capping first, are you able to get the kills that you need to take high ground away? Because once the defense is set up on high ground and shuttle, there's almost no harder point to crack.
By the way, guys, I have a confession because people are questioning it. It is worth noting that Hex and I, we live in fake sheds. It is a image that is copied from Sideshow. Sideshow is the only bearer of the one true shed, and I felt the need to confess that while we were on air.
I mean, I'll take credit. I mean, it was my dumb idea. I thought it was funny. I still think it's funny. I actually... I make no apologies for it.
It's amazing. I'm not apologizing at all, but I do want people to know that I unfortunately do not have a shed to cast from.
What if we all just lived in the exact same shed in some sort of odd caster camp? Be some sort of... Someone could write a dystopian novel about that.
So, Denver?
That would be close to that.
We were in very close proximity for a month. But, Hex, what do we take a look at here from the defense coming out from LG Evil as we look at them just creeping into server room? Doesn't feel like they've changed much here.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even really want to mess around with being up top, it seems. Some teams will be up top a little bit and just poke a little, kind of like a Dorado defense, right? Where you're holding that high ground and then you rotate through archway. They don't even want to bother with a rotation to see if that gets messed up. They don't want to give any free damage, and it seems like we're going to come into server room. It's up to you guys to crack it.
Splyce, meanwhile, we were wondering if there could be options of a Widowmaker or otherwise. Not going to be the case here early on, and for Splyce, the question is, how do they crack this interior LG Evil defense where you take a look at how LG Evil is positioning this here. You have the 2 dive tanks that aren't in the hole, and everyone else in the hole. So if you go to challenge the hole, you're going to be gang flanked by Winston D.Va. If you challenge Winston D.Va, they're going to just run away. So Splyce is actually a bit mentally frozen here and figuring out how to get through here.
It gets tough. I actually really like where the tanks for LG Evil are set up over top, because you don't want to give them that angle to sit up over top and spam from. So they've actually come out a little bit as the rest of the team rotates into server room while the tanks were gone, and now they're getting kills.
That was a bad rotation there by LG Evil. They could have stayed in the room and gotten exactly what they wanted. I think they thought Splyce was moving in a way that they actually weren't. Splyce catches them off guard, but Train, still alive, takes a breather, takes down 2, and is still the raid boss that must be defeated. Is taken down here, and now we're in a 3 versus 3. All you really need is a little bit more delay from LG Evil for respawns to come in. They should be able to hold, even though it's not super clean on their part.
No, they will have the respawn advantage, and yeah, I think they thought, anyway, to get too deep into their heads, that Splyce was going to come up over that top left ledge, which is a great area to start spamming through in server room while everyone else is pushing the cart. So they sent a couple of their tanks up there, and a really nice response from Splyce as they saw that, rotated through server room, when they were able to pick up kills as the tanks were late on their own rotation. However, the fight went on too long, and LG Evil able to pull that back, now a full reset.
I've got you in my sights.
LG Evil, they have the tech visor from Jake, and oh no, they gotta get the payload. You don't want a C9 moment, and there it is! The payload is captured! Oh my goodness, how does this keep happening? This happened earlier in the day too, where Immortals just let one go because they wanted to kill Winston. Now, mistakes were made. And now they're actually looking at potential of split spawns as well, so good play by Splyce, but that was more on LG Evil in letting that happen.
What you don't want to have happen either is that the offense now gets free high ground, and you want them to be forced to take the shuttle, and now the shuttle is theirs. They're up over the top. They're going to be throwing shurikens through this hallway. Hard to initiate up here, but they will get both their tanks in early on to take top of the shuttle.
Luckily for Super, he does have Primal Rage to make that easier. Graceful, denied, goes for the Dragon Blade and is immediately taken down. So, Train leading the way here once more for LG Evil, and yet, Baby Bay off the Tech Visor, gets a good flank off, gets Vol, and does more here off the side, looking for a Voss. A Voss still somehow alive in the middle of all this. bopping and booping around. Baby Bay not able to finish him off, but now the support's in trouble. Jake barely living towards the end, but just punished from both sides.
Yeah, this has been a brawl and a half. All very lone survivors left here, Graceful and Michael on the cart. The biggest problem there for LG Evil is they had to use so much just to get in there. Sound barrier came off a little early, and then Splyce was able to respond with a better sound barrier in turn. There will be another fight here, as they do not want to give up at this point for free. Super back on the Reinhardt.
A beautiful deflections makes Rob 420 sleep himself. Graceful gives his life up for it, but Splyce newfound momentum here as Michael does work in the back. Baby Bay in over the top, and Remix as the muscle in on the payload. This is dominant from Splyce, and they are going to get through hangar phase.
I think we're seeing Super fall back to a comfort pick. I do understand the choice to Reinhardt there, though, because they weren't going to be fighting for high ground anymore. That was going to be a low ground fight, and even this last point is probably going to be a low ground fight. I just don't know how fun it is to play Reinhardt against a Genji and a Tracer. Actually, I know exactly how much fun it is. It's approximately 0. They're going to be right behind you, just denying you most of the time, and again, the offense has the high ground already.
I mean, clearly LG Evil never watched the Phantom Men, or not the Phantom Menace. Man, I am losing my nerd cred by the moment. I'm just gonna leave that there as I suffer mental problems. What are we seeing here?
Revenge of the Sith. You have the high ground.
There you go. I wanted to say, I want to say Rise of the Sith, and I knew that wasn't the case. But either way, Splyce, they had the high ground. They are pushed off of it, and again, it's Train able to pull things right back in the middle of it. So Train being a rock here for LG Evil, even when other things are breaking down.
I just can't believe that I'm a bigger fan of prequel memes than you are. This is a first. Write it down.
I knew it was Revenge of the Sith. It just, I wanted to say Rise for some reason. I can't help it.
Well, we've been saying Rise Nation all day. A giant battle's going up over top here. Graceful's trying to deny this whole hog. Does a pretty solid job of it. Meanwhile, Baby Bay is able to take down Train, who got nothing out of that ultimate.
No, and Baby Bay piling on. The Tag Visor over the top, picking up 3 before it's all said and done. And yes, there might have been a nano on to Super, but there's only so much you can do when Splyce is rushing you from all different angles here. And now, the question is, can LG Evil stabilize as they're quickly running out of time and running out of space?
Well, the gas seems to be taken off a little bit as they slowly fall back and try to reset up an offense here. Here comes a Primal Rage trying to knock people off, but Train has been the saving grace for LG Evil throughout this map.
Has been saving grace as Winston takes a nap in the back. It's Rob 420 with a beautiful sleep dart to contain Winston's rage and open up LG Evil for what is looking to be a full team wipe. They restabilize, and that is huge for buying time here on Gibraltar.
The nice thing is, too, they ended up using some ult. Super hit a really nice Earth Shatter in the midst of that fight right below the cart, but their economy is still in very solid shape. You have Train and Jake who are about to get there. Avast will have Sound Barrier, too. I like where Train and Jake are set up. They're taking the high ground. They want to make it difficult, but now here comes a triple jump onto them. Vol will come up to help.
Jake, though, getting well protected by Vol as they try and dive him. Here comes the Nano Boost, and here comes the Attack Visor. Nothing in Jake's way to just mow down his enemies. Picks up 2 easily and pins Baby Bay into the back. And now you have 3 members of Splyce wishing for sweet death. And here comes the members of LG Evil to perhaps make that a reality. They get trained, but I don't know if there's too much they can do to actually live through here. And they use the Transcendence in somewhat of an awkward situation. They haven't fully reinforced. This is either going to pay off really well or be a huge mistake.
Well, the Transcendence bought them the time to get the reinforcements back in. That's a nice call. They were coming back. They had mobility options to get in there, so now they're fighting a 6. And here comes a late sounder for them. It is all Splyce.
It has worked out really well. And those Remix who kept 3 people CC'd against the wall. It was beautiful knockback play from that Primal Rage. And off of that, Splyce is able to punch this in with 53 seconds remaining.
I'm still going back to the fact they gave up second for free, just for absolutely nothing. It's just not seeing the forest for the trees. Like you mentioned, it happens for Immortals that they're so set in getting back into their positional defense that they just don't notice the objective. I don't know if we need audio alerts or louder audio alerts or that payload progress needs to flash in neon lights, but it's an issue. It's been an issue for a while.
No doubt about it, and for LG Evil too, is just it wasn't like they didn't have heroes that could have gone back onto it. There was a significant period of time where people were on the payload. They just, for whatever reason, they tunnel visioned incredibly hard. They ended up giving up a point that, frankly, they could have won that fight potentially, and it just made their hangar phase much more difficult for them to actually deal with. Still, though, they do catch up on time on last. 53 seconds are all that was left in the bank for Splyce, so still plenty of options here for LG Evil to bring this map back, but they've certainly made things more difficult for themselves than it really had to be.
Yeah, and this is where I wanted to see how Splyce wanted to play defense, and it does look like they're going to play a little bit more aggressive. When, you know, honestly, I did a kind of a false dichotomy. You can play far forward here and then reset up on the high ground, so I think they're going to opt for that. The other option is, of course, to bunker down into server room, but then you really only get that one fight. So they're going to run it in the aggro style, and I think if this fails, they're going to all try to fail spectacularly so that they can retake the high ground and then let Baby Bay go to town on 76.
One thing that is worth noting is that even if LG Evil is on the attack here, it is still probably better suited here for Splyce to take this more in the open. Make LG Evil fight for every bit of ground they get and flank them from all ends. Don't give LG Evil the positioning that they like to get in team fights. And if you do that, I think they have a good chance of delaying them before they hit final. Either way, Splyce right now, coming in on multiple angles, we'll see just how effective this aggro defense is.
Well, they're going in, but half-heartedly. The dive went in, and then they retreated immediately. We'll see if they want to re-engage right now. Remix has still been up the front, cleaving everyone. It's the flankers who are not been able to finish these kills just yet. Michael gives his life. They do trade out.
Baby Bay just walks right up, gets the early kill onto support into the back, and even though it's a little bit sloppy in the beginning, Splyce able to clean up the rest as Baby Bay picks up 3 before it's all done. So Splyce, they stabilize, and overall, they just bought themselves a minute, Hex.
Yeah, they can still hold up here. They're not really missing a whole lot of pieces to the initial part of it. The Winston's going to dive in, but mostly going to be countered by Remix's counter dive, and they're still ready to fight up front. Graceful's been Discord this entire time, but somehow has lived through most of this.
Baby Bay hanging up over the top, just dunks on Train with the Helix rocket, stopping him from doing much here, and Baby Bay's been the raid boss here. He has not been under pressure. Yeah. He's been getting free kills and free poke. At this point for LG Evil, you need to make him a priority because you are letting his soldier do far too much right now.
I think they are making him a priority, but so is Splyce. That anytime Baby Bay gets in trouble, Remix jumps out there. He's getting the heals from Shake. He's getting everything that he needs, and Graceful's been running a really good distraction because he's always diving their Zenyatta and getting discorded, but that means the discord's not on Baby Bay.
Well, Baby Bay has the cavalry come from him and then some, having to run around through the car wash. It's not enough. The dive from LG Evil gets their man, but Splyce, they still have a team behind them. It's not just Baby Bay, and they're able to bring this back somewhat. However, with Michael going down, there's a distinct lack of DPS available for Splyce to actually keep this fight going, and LG Evil will finally break through.
LG Evil should be jumping on the high ground as soon as possible. Baby Bay is already up there, already has an orb. Jake's going to find the corner to try to poke him. You do not want to let the soldier get up here and do whatever he wants. That's why Jake is making such a priority to stay on the high ground. They would love to clear this out and let the soldier sit back up here again.
Dragon Blade coming out from Jake, but no, immediately shut down by Baby Bay. That's one way to make a Genji put away the sword as Splyce, again, firing right back. Michael, though, a little bit too deep, ends up dying. Now this puts us into a 5v5 situation where Splyce, well loaded for Bear, is probably going to have to exchange some ults here to hold on. They open up with the Transcendence, and here comes the Blade. Graceful, down and dirty into the back, countered by another Transcendence, however, as Jake went for a Dragon Blade of his own and was punished.
Yeah, they just want to stall out the cart so that they can sit up here and just do whatever he wants, and it's been working out so far. A couple of kills will flip that situation a little bit on its head. Michael will take out his counterpart, but forcing out some ults from LG Evil. Only a minute left. The tactical visor goes off from a very long ways away, going to be very easy to dodge.
I do think that he could have saved that there. Would have been a lot better to have it up now. The final attempt coming in here from LG Evil, but they have great positioning, and there's not a lot of ultimates up. Still, though, Rob 420 gets picked early on. Now here comes Splyce, trying to make the most of it, and Baby Bay doing so much damage. No one is on him. He picks up 2. Oh my goodness. You can't be giving Baby Bay this much space. This has been brutal from Splyce. And now for LG Evil, maybe they touch the payload again, but they're going to have to just rush in and hope that Super's Primal Rage buys them enough time.
And they're not going to be able to dive deep enough to get Baby Bay if they want to have any sort of significant pressure on the cart. And I don't know, what do you think about leaving Soldier alone on the high ground?
Usually not a good idea. Usually ends in everyone full of holes and exploded. But either way, LG Evil coming in. Primal Rage up for Super, getting a lot of cleave into the back line. This is incredible value for Super into the back, baiting things back, almost going down, playing with fire, and yet saves the Primal Rage, but Michael explodes in the back. The post bomb taking down 2, and Super has the Primal Rage later on, diving deep into Baby Bay and is gunned down in his prime. Overtime is in progress, and Splyce is taking out the remaining members. They take Watch Point Gibraltar and even up the series 1-1.
Not the biggest surprise given how they were playing. They double dove Baby Bay at the end. They sent both tanks in after him and just giving them a Defran-like slip, the Houdini sprint of Soldier as he gets out of there, stays alive, and I think it's really telling of their map choices here of how they want to play with their hit scan. They want to get that artificial space created by maps and let their hit scan run wild. It actually might work out for them on Nepal, because Nepal's a map you can run those distant hit scans on with a lot of space.
Well, it is interesting as we will be seeing control from the next map, something that LG Evil is more comfortable in, and yet Nepal is a weaker map for them on the control side of things. So we'll see how it turns out, I suppose. But Splyce, a much bigger statement there with LG Evil really not able to prioritize the people they needed to prioritize. And it comes back to the idea that LG Evil, in recent times, now that Winston is more of a mainstay, now that people have gone away from running Ryan all the time, LG Evil has trouble getting initiations that they want, particularly on offense. And it really came back to bite them in that last matchup.
I just feel like maybe you put Jake on a Genji there so that he can go with your dive tanks, because at the very last push when they really prioritized Baby Bay, they sent up Vol on the Diva, then they sent up Super on Winston. You think that should be enough, but clearly it wasn't. Clearly it just was never enough. So you need to send in some more damage, send in a deflect, send in something. But I think they identified the problem. They just didn't identify the answer.
Well, as sure as I'm in a shed and I'm being creeped on over the shoulder, we are going to be heading in to Nepal for map number 3. Both teams 1-1 in this best of 5 series. And guys, remember, this is single elimination. One team will be going home today and not making it to the second round of playoffs tomorrow.
I mean, the big thing I want to see is when we get to Sanctum, if Jake can play well, and I think he's going to have issues with Baby Bay. Jake will try to play a Genji or 76 on it, but they have to find some way, because Sanctum has always been a great stage for 76, and it's just that artificial space that it brings. And if they don't first cap on this stage, they might be in trouble too, because Soldier on the high ground is hard to deal with.
Well, the key thing here too is that I would be a little bit worried here for LG Evil is that when they beat Splyce back on Lijiang, Baby Bay was only on McCree, and thus far his Soldier has been far more formidable than his McCree. And don't get me wrong, I love seeing McCree get played, but so far Baby Bay has made a better case for his Soldier, and LG Evil has done a far worse job of actually dealing with it effectively.
Well, Baby Bay, of course, will be on Soldier. Jake is going to take the mantle of Genji instead, so that should be a nice battle to watch between the two. Super already down. Jake down, Rob down. Splyce wins this fight.
Splyce wins the fight, but that was much closer than the kill feed even remotely makes that. You had Super cleaving 4 people and Jake dashing right in. If they just had a little bit more damage checks, if they just had any extra bit, that is probably a team fight going the exact opposite way. So a fight on the wire, Splyce ends up winning it big. And now LG Evil already on the back foot to start Nepal.
Yeah, Overwatch is a game that is on that razor's edge. I do actually like just kind of poking around on the point as Tracer. You just make them give up the high ground regardless. Super with a really nice jump up top is going to take down Shake. That's going to make everyone's job a lot more difficult. And now Splyce has to back off this point, has to give it up.
Immediately, LG Evil striking right back. The initiation works out well for them. Baby Bay, nothing he can do with the Winston in his face towards the end. And LG Evil gets a set up once more. And Hex, we're setting up for an ultimate showdown into the next fight right now.
Yeah, the ultimates are going to be online. I gotta say, Michael's pulse bombs have been much more impactful than Train, so that's the change that I want to see, which one ends up actually finding pay dirt. And then, of course, you have to worry about Baby Bay. Jake will have Dragon Blade up at some point in this fight too, but a lot of this is just execution. Train gets nothing out of his pulse bomb.
Everyone grouped together and everyone getting cleaved by Super. It's a nice opening from Super, trying to interrupt Baby Bay, but has to back out. Takes too much damage even for a Primal Raging Winston. Self-destruct, late into the fight, doesn't, oh, it gets 2 towards the very end. At the very last moment, Vol picks up 2. It looked like they got away, they did not. 4 kills to 3 in favor of LG Evil, and that self-destruct is the determining factor in them winning the fight.
And it's so important to win those fights where both teams are using ultimates, because now the next fight, you know what the economy is going to look like for both teams. You know which ults came out and which did not, but meanwhile, still holding on in control of the point is LG Evil. Again, they are very good on control, but Nepal is a map that they are absolutely mortal on. So far, though, looking in their favor, this was their map pick, just to remind everyone.
Here comes the counter engage by LG Evil, diving into Splyce once more. They force out the Transcends immediately, but it also forces them to back off. It's a good Transcends by Shake to put the terms of the fight more in Splyce's favor, and Super ends up paying the price as a result. He falls early in this fight. Baby Bay, well protected in the back, now taking the initiative and rushing forward. 3 kills to 1 in favor of Splyce, and this is looking like a 1 fight and a flip of the point.
Yeah, both tanks went down very early. Very difficult to lose 2 of anything, supports, DPS, or tanks. So when both those tanks went down, it was just a feast for all the DPS remaining for Splyce. They were able to clean it up, but they've got a hold for the rest of this map. We'll see. When they were able to hold for the rest of the map last time, it was because Michael hit all these initiating pulse bombs. He was looking for something over the top, didn't find the target he wanted, though. He's still going in the back line. Does not find it with the pulse bomb.
Baby Bay on pest control right now, trying to deal Train into the back, almost has attack visor up, and he might just pop this right away. He's gonna wait for the Transcendence, and then he's gonna go. Now the attack visor is up, looking for any targets he might have, but not getting anything immediately. Meanwhile, the fight takes place at the other end. You see now 3 kills from the side of LG Evil, and Jake with the Dragon Blade should be able to finish this off.
Well, they gave up the point before the fight really even had started, and nonetheless concluded, so it was very easy for them. LG Evil dictated where the battle was going to take place. Michael was unable to get that early pulse bomb that they relied so much on Lijiang Tower, and that is LG Evil taking the first stage of Nepal.
One thing that is worth noting, though, is that that stage in particular can be somewhat problematic for Soldier at certain points. Baby Bay got very messed up by line of sight there, where he wasn't able to get in on the people he wants. But that's also the hardest part of Nepal, period, for keeping good line of sight. Now we go into the Shrine stage, and Baby Bay is going to have a lot more room to work with here. Less room for LG Evil to hide, so LG Evil is going to have to win these fights a little bit more straight up.
Yeah, I mean, at that point in Nepal is why you see a lot of teams just force the fight onto the point. It's got a lot of angles where you have cover. I mean, they're fighting in a, two-sided shed there, for instance, and so it is very difficult. This is a map where a soldier kind of wants to get onto the elephant area of this and be able to just pepper down the opposing team. That's a nice initiating kill from Graceful.
Graceful starting out strong to open things up here. LG Evil in the more open area, struggling a bit more mightily here. Jake's still alive at 100 HP, but running out of options within reason. But no, Graceful goes down as LG Evil trying to extend this fight perhaps a little bit more. Gonna be difficult, though, as the rest of Splyce goes on to the point, and Baby Bay finally ends Jake's misery.
He's on the top of the stairs using the elephant as cover. That is a pachyderm protector, and was able to get so much damage going on to everyone below. It doesn't seem like the biggest deal of high ground, but any sort of high ground that you give up to Soldier is bad. They all were hanging out on the ledge. Baby Bay just did what he wanted. Even when Winston jumped on him, he just walked away. Like, who are you? What are you even going to do?
Baby Bay has so much better line of sight on this map. He has more space to run away, more room to fire on people as they come in, and he just guns down Jake there towards the end. 3-1 for Splyce, and Splyce, they just disengage and re-engage and poke down LG Evil all the while.
The strategy for Splyce could not be more clear. Baby Bay has had the yellow balloon on him the entire time. He's clearly the focus of what they want to keep alive, and it makes a lot of sense because Graceful and Michael are going to be able to freelance as the flankers, and Baby Bay is just going to try to protect Shake, and Shake will do the same for Baby Bay.
Super right now leaping into the backline, going to be applying pressure to Baby Bay here. Baby Bay just rolls around and uses Attack Visor, looking for the squishy backline, but no. Winston and D.Va in his face. Not going to happen this time. The Attack Visor is wasted, and yet Graceful into the backline, doing work in place of Baby Bay. All the tanks were chasing Baby Bay. They weren't worrying about a Genji, and the Dragon Blade does its work.
It's one of the things that happens when someone is playing out of their minds and playing such a really good game is the focus becomes on them. Now, if the rest of your team can pick it up, regardless of that, you're going to be in a good position.
Time quickly becoming not on LG Evil's side here. They have one more fight to bring this back, and who else to look at here than Jake? Dragon Blade on the menu. Sound barrier not ready for him just yet. And here comes the Dragon Blade. Diving in. Doesn't want to go in the Winston. Wants Baby Bay. Not able to stay on Baby Bay. The Winston zoning out Jake and blocking him. Knocking him back and keeping his soldier safe. So Baby Bay well protected by his tanks and supports into that fight. Self-destruct goes off. Gets nothing. Splyce still very much in this fight with 6 full health people. However, Rob 420 finds Michael towards the very end. 5 versus 5. It's somewhat close, but this might be the best fight that we've seen all map long from LG Evil.
When it started off pretty poorly, they invested a lot into that blade. They gave the sound barrier and then a transcend on top of that during the midst of that brawl, but still no kills for Jake. It did end up forcing out a lot of ultimates from Splyce, and they were just able to get the 1v1s after all the ults had faded to be able to take over this point. But a monumental task ahead of them as they cannot lose another fight.
Now they're going to have to deal with both Dragon Blade and Attack Visor effectively at the same time, and they're going to have to do it without Rob 420 as he gets picked immediately. Here comes Baby Bay off the flank. I don't think they have resources to deal with this Attack Visor anymore as he takes down Jake immediately. Vol the next to pay the iron price, and this is looking like a retake and round wind for Splyce.
Yeah, only Super left alive. Those health bars just melting down quickly. Super will come in to try. Wow.
I mean, he went in, and then the rocket went in also.
They are
coin phrase.
Bodies back on this point as Vost and Vol are out here, but it's just all desperation time. Train able to get something. Jake Dragon Blades will see if he can turn it back for him.
Dragon Blade with no health takes a Helix rocket after getting the health pack. Nothing to be done. Meanwhile, Graceful taking down 3 with dash resets back on the point.
This
was
is
a
huge.
better last moment. It is.
Yeah, this is huge for Splyce. If they can take Nepal away, LG's map choice, so far each team has held sway on the maps that they've had, and that's fine, you expect that, but to be able to take a map away from your opponent, and I mean, this could swing it all in a different direction. I've mentioned that LG Evil struggles on Nepal. They struggle mightily on Sanctum.
Think you can do my job?
Zeepside losing?
I am still here.
All right.
No, you didn't lose me. I was just making sure that I wasn't joining the robot fan club, as it were. You've been a robot at points tonight. I might have been becoming a robot as well. So we're just making sure that this is an Omnic-free zone. Someday there may be Omnic casters, but today is not intended to be the day.
All right, well, Sanctum is where I called out Jake's positioning and questioned him before. We'll see what he can get going here. It's going to be a 76 versus 76 battle. Both teams running the, I think, mirror compositions. Yeah, it looks like a mirror match between these two teams.
Well, relatively even here so far. Neither team really committing too heavily, but I'll tell you what, as far as committing goes, Splyce doesn't have to commit that heavily so long as Baby Bay is safe. Now, he's not safe. Jake just killed him. So with Baby Bay down, the raid boss is dead, and LG Evil with plenty of room to work with here. The kills going in their favor, and they should be able to get this first point.
I mean, it really is as simple as that. Can you take the biggest distance damage threat on the map? And for a lot of maps, that is Soldier 76. Baby Bay has different ideas, though. He wants to go to McCree now. I think this is one of the few stages that you can run a successful McCree if you get the support from your team, but he's going to get dove on regardless of what he's playing.
The problem is that he needed the Soldier 76 speed to get away from relatively well-coordinated dives from the side of LG Evil. I would love to see the McCree work here, and maybe it will as he goes in, but Baby Bay has upped the difficulty for him staying live tremendously.
But now that they have the point, he's going to be in pretty decent position too, because even though they have dive tanks, it's a lot of distance to cover, and if his positioning is even halfway decent, he's got some support with him, he should be fine. You see a lot of soldiers post up over on the stairs, over on the ledge. It's just very difficult for any sort of pressure to get on him before he can react.
Well, LG Evil coming back in, a bit of an ult advantage in their favor. Tac Visor can be opened up immediately, and Jake doesn't quite have the best targets. It's a Primal Rage Winston that's eating most of his line of sight, but he still finds a way of threading in and getting Baby Bay. Graceful, trying to equalize, Dragon Blade out, looking for more onto the point, has to use Deflect, but you know what? Deflection does not conduct electricity as Super takes him right out.
Deflect does a lot. Maybe more than it should sometimes, but it is still weak to energy-based weapons. It's exactly what you saw there. Very back and forth so far on Sanctum. Baby Bay's remaining on this McCree, still going to have the yellow bubble with him. Like I said, it's very clear what Splyce's strategy is. Pulse Bomb does not connect.
Here comes Dragon Blade late into the fight from Vol, looking to get to the back line. Stymied a bit by the Sound Baron, yet still finds Remix. 5 versus 5, the Deadeye connects. Baby Bay now, plenty of room into the back line. This is where McCree can make his money in these sorts of fights. It's breaking down, he could be a duelist, but no, he gets discorded and just dispatched. The double team from Super and Vol removes him from the fight, and LG Evil will maintain control here, Hex, and they only have to do it one more time to be up 2-1.
One more time, and the field is completely devoid of ultimate, so we're going to find out who's the better team when they just have their regular abilities here. Initiation going to be very important. Baby Bay is going to have the purple and yellow balloon on him, so it kind of equals out, right?
To some extent, does make him more vulnerable to burst damage. As Super backing out, gets the orb at just the right time, keeping alive here as Michael tried to take him down. The rest of Splyce now moving in. They don't have much time. They have to get into a point. They put it into overtime, but they lose both Graceful and Pure early on. Now, you see LG Evil converting. They deal with the fact that Splyce couldn't look for great initiation there.
Yeah, just not enough, and LG Evil answering some questions about their vulnerability on Nepal. Hey, Jake had good positioning that game, and there's just been a lot of games where Jake finds himself alone on the island, but I think this might be a map that they put some work in on, because it was their biggest weakness as far as the control pool went. And when you start going to these tournaments that allow bans and things like that, you know that teams are going to be able to take out at least a couple of the control maps on you, so you have to be good at all of them, and this is a map that they needed to get better on, that stage in particular, and it looked like they had a better strategy of it. I mean, honestly, the strategy right now is kill Baby Bay before he kills you. It's not too in-depth.
Well, I do think that him going to McCree was a bit of a mistake there. It was much easier for LG Evil to dive in on him, and when they're committing that hard with that many heroes that can dive in on you regardless of how you position, it's not a good position to be in as McCree. So we'll see how things go here. Now Baby Bay is back onto Soldier, and LG Evil just immediately getting into the face of Splyce, but they lose super early on for it. It's a Winston trade out early on, but Jake finds his comfort zone into the back, dashing through multiple people. The dash resets doing work.
Yeah, dash reset is a good ability. Graceful now feeling the benefit of it as well as he finds both supports until Vol takes him down. It is only Baby Bay alive, but I think he would be wise to wait. He does have reinforcements with him now. Point will be captured by LG Evil.
LG Evil captures this, but it's not a particularly decisive capture. They are absolutely getting whittled down here as Baby Bay gets to work. Takes down 2, still at full HP, and there's just an overwhelming numbers advantage here for Splyce that is certainly going to give them control at this point. The only question is, how long can Stall come out? And the answer is, not very long.
It's going to go somewhat unnoticed, but Graceful getting 2 kills late there while Baby Bay lived actually probably won them that fight, because all the kills from LG Evil came early, which meant the respawns were going to be there quicker. That's why Baby Bay was kind of peeking around the door, waiting for the rest of his team, and they just had reinforcements there faster, so they ended up with a 6v4 because Graceful's late kills.
Well, speaking of Graceful, the Dragon Blade is out. He's looking for anything in the backline and looks utterly confused, like John Travolta looking for something, who knows what. Meanwhile, Jake, very much not confused, takes down 2 with the Dragon Blade and looking for more. Will have to sell for just 2, but the damage has been done here as LG Evil now moving in. Baby Bay, though, looking to equalize. The Tac Visor is up, but with a Winston in his face, he's lucky to get away with his life. 12 HP, all he has left before it's all said and done. Pretty even here, but a slight edge to LG Evil.
Well, Baby Bay's going to come back in, but he's going to get bopped into oblivion as they are tired of dealing with him.
Oh no, he's just getting bopped around here. Nowhere he can go. Super splatters him against the corner of the indoors as the rest of LG Evil piles on and retakes the point.
Well, back and forth now. They probably will brawl again when things are a little more even. LG Evil's going to get a lot of percentage points here. I actually wouldn't mind Vol just sending something over the top, just to keep them out of it. He can also keep it and just self-destruct on the point, which will buy the percentage time as well, as you can't be on the point while the self-destruct is there. There's not a nook or a cranny to hide behind, so they're going to transcend in on the initiation.
The Transcend comes out, and Vol almost certainly going to drop the self-destruct here in a moment, just waits for it. There's the self-destruct on the point. Everyone from Splyce scatters. Remix not able to get out in time, taken down by Rob420. But the re-engage is coming out with the sound barrier. Splyce now looking for an early pickoff off of that, and they don't get it. Still, LG Evil is healthy, and here comes Graceful. Dragon Blade out, picks up 3, now 4! That is one way to turn the fight back in your favor if you are Splyce, and they will recapture.
Well-coordinated ultimates there, too, as BabyBay had used the Tactical Visor just a second earlier, and sometimes Tactical Visor won't show up enormous in the kill feed because you're switching targets a little too often, unbeknownst to you, but it will soften everyone up and make it all that much easier for a Dragon Blade to come out. We are nearly tied on percentage-wise, but it is Splyce who holds control of the point. LG Evil, though, nearing a lot of tools to be able to take this back.
Splyce right now looking to maintain control. BabyBay falls early on, which puts a lot more pressure here on the Graceful. Has to back out and heal. Already not participating in this fight. Effectively 2 down for Splyce, with Graceful being this far out. And that is not enough for Splyce. They will lose almost everyone here as Graceful late to rejoin the party. Still, though, for Splyce, they have outs here, Hex. If they get one more fight, they will take the round. However, LG Evil is well loaded for the next fight.
Super's had a really nice game, and I think they've noticed that they have to give him a little more support. A lot of times when he jumps in now, he is going to get the Orb of Harmony and keep himself healed up, but he has been a great initiator. His Primal Rages have been on point as well.
Here comes Jake, Dragon Blade out, finds Pure immediately, looking for more. 2 already down here for Splyce, and Splyce on the verge of losing the round and losing the map. 93% to 92% as everything goes LG Evil's way.
It was Super yet again who found a good angle to jump on the Zenyatta and put him out of the fight immediately. There goes Discord, there goes a lot of healing that they've been relying on, and will transcend out of desperation.
This is the final push here from Splyce. They must flip this over or the map is going to be over. LG Evil just looking to hold on. Still though, Splyce finding a way of making this somewhat interesting. Graceful, a last moment Dragon Blade comes out, looking for anything, and instead gets an orb to the back of the head. Overtime ticking away, and that's going to be LG Evil taking the pall and going up in the series 2-1.
Both teams have won their map choices, so not too surprising. I think Super played one of his better Winston games I've seen in a while there. I think they really understood that he can't take down BabyBay by himself, so they gave him the half support of his Zenyatta help. And he had himself a really good game. So,
I've been linked from many a person commentary in regards to the stream here, and because I've changed glasses, I am getting referred to as Harry Potter. Hex, I just want you to know that that makes you Ron Weasley.
Hey! Good luck. Alright, well, fair enough. I used to, when I was a younger and better looking man, which of course is not that difficult, I used to like dye my hair blonde, so I was more of a Malfoy, I'd say. You know. Blonde,
is that really, is that better at that point?
I don't know.
That's a real question.
I don't know who I'd want to be in the Harry Potter universe. They're kind of all dorks. I disagree with it. Find someone cool in the Harry Potter universe.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about more relevant things here as we change the subject entirely. LG Evil able to hold serve. They win the second control point map, able to maintain their relative home field superiority on it. But now they're going to have to move into another hybrid map where so far tonight, Splyce has proven to be much more adept.
It is Eichenwald, so I don't know exactly what LG Evil can run here. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing LG Evil take like the old page out of the book and run something like a 3 or 4 tank. Maybe get a Roadhog in here. We've seen Roadhog be very good on Eichenwald before. They could run a multitude of things, but I think it really does come down to how much damage do they let BabyBay do or not do, and can the other DPS pick it up when they do really focus BabyBay? Because we've seen this kind of narrative before with Immortals, where a team just sells out to shut down Grim, and then can the other DPS step it up?
It'll be interesting. I do think that given Eichenwald has a lot of really good spots to hold as a soldier, and how LG Evil has seemingly been troubled by getting onto Baby Bay in these long areas, Eichenwald makes sense for Splyce. I think that this is a good map for Baby Bay and how he likes positioning, and LG Evil is going to have to find a better way of dealing with it than they've dealt with it on Watchpoint Gibraltar, because if they don't, we are almost certainly going to be heading to a map number 5.
Yeah, that map number 5 is randomly drawn in our system here, and it would be Hollywood. Now, do you think that would favor Splyce or LG Evil?
Map number 5. I feel like if it's Hollywood, I feel like it has to favor Splyce, because that would mean that Splyce would have taken both hybrid maps, and then they would be heading to a tiebreaker, which is also a hybrid map. How does that not favor Splyce at that point?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just did not expect Splyce to be playing this close to LG Evil. I mean, it still has been both teams just holding their points, but no, you make a very valid point that they've been very good on Hollywood. Hollywood also another very good Soldier 76 map, and I think Splyce definitely has the better 76 in this matchup.
No, I wouldn't disagree at all, and it's interesting how this has proven to go down here so far. I won't say that Splyce has the edge, but if Splyce takes out Eichenwald, I'd probably favor them to take the whole thing at this point.
Yeah, they were close. They've gotten better on the control maps, too. They were pretty close on a couple of Nepal stages, too. Yeah, this Splyce team, regardless of what happens, has surprised me a little. I mentioned that they do have a lot of individual talent, and it seems like they're putting it together. I think the pickup of Shake, or you know, tryout of Shake, is a really smart move. He's always been one of my favorite players on Complexity.
Shake in general is a very smart support, and it's always hard to tell where the problems were in the Complexity team. You could give criticism that they weren't getting as much out of the TJO brothers as they would have liked in terms of just DPS contribution. It's hard to say. You don't know the full internals of every team. But that's why it's interesting to see parts of a team try out in different locations, and Shake has been one of those players where I'd be curious to see what he could do here, whether it be on Splyce or a different team.
All right, so we are on Eichenwald. It's allegedly pronounced both ways. I defer to my friends who live in Germany. They say I'm right, but Twitch chat always tells me I'm wrong, which is fine. I'm used to it. Defensively, it does not seem like LG Evil is running anything super far out of the norm, but they are going to look like they're going to run triple tank, which I think is smart for them.
Triple tank is far more of a comfort zone here for LG Evil than most other comps they can run. I mean, remember, when they came onto the comp scene, they were rocking the quad tank, so this is actually one tank down from where they were super comfortable. Still, though, this gives Jake room in the back, and the one to watch here is certainly Train, where people forget this, but Train can have a very shutdown Roadhog, and has been a key part of LG Evil at points when other parts have failed. So, for me, especially in the tight quarters of Eichenwald, I'm curious to see just what Train is able to do here.
Yeah, Train is kind of an X factor on this team regardless of what hero he plays. Can he match it with the opponent's Tracer, or can his Diva be good? So we'll see. Vol has been running the Diva most of the game. They do give them very free entry right now, and I do not like the position LG Evil is in. We'll see if they can break out of this.
This is beyond free right now. Splyce just walks right in as LG Evil, acting like they're the attackers, having to go out of a narrow doorway themselves. Now, they're still doing okay in the poke war, where they are trying to bait Splyce into this narrow corridor because they like fighting these areas, but it's questionable as they've already given up 2 ticks on the point, and now they have to get onto the point lest they give it up for free. So this has been a weird early engage, and Graceful looking to turn it in his favor. Early Dragon Blade comes out, but gets nothing with it once more, having to fight Reinhardt Hammer v Sword, and Super takes that fight rather easily.
But they will finally hold on. I'm pretty convinced that Remix has gold damage right now for both teams. The amount of cleave he got in while they were sitting in that corridor was absolutely filthy. Baby Bay is just going to chill up top here. They don't really want to contest him. It's just been an interesting position that LG Evil's in. Look, they're going back to the corner. They want to fight here.
Okay, but they have to contest the point. They lost 2 ticks. They can't do that again. As much fun as it is, as protected and safe as they might have felt. Now, they do have a sound barrier, but Avast doesn't use it in time. He waited too long, and now LG Evil might be paying the price. Jake, the flank, nothing happened, and even though Train has been known for heroics, this is going to be one that would be pretty impressive if he brought it back, given how badly this started, and he might be doing just that. Takes down Remix with Super, the double teaming from the tanks, and the whole hog is going to be making some critical space.
Well, apparently the Pillow Fort defense is holding strong as they all go into the hidey hole, then bust out at once. I have no idea what I'm seeing. I've not seen this style of defense before, but LG Evil is an innovative team, and for a moment it looked like Super was wasting that ult, but had the reinforcements come in, this tank play is very strong against this composition because it's just so much health to have to chunk through.
You want to talk about contribution, a lot of it can just come from the fact that you're all in the Lucio aura. Lucio has way more AoE healing now, so they're getting quite a bit of healing between Onanade and Lucio heal. They're using that to their advantage. Here comes the sound barrier early on. This time LG Evil, they want to explore the great outdoors. But they don't get anything off the initiation, and Splyce is punishing. Baby Bay on the flank, doesn't quite get what he wants, but it's fine because Graceful does. Graceful to double kill into the backline, takes down 2, and once more LG Evil stuck trying to fight their way back with just Vol, Train, and Super.
Well, it worked last time. You have to wonder how often they can go to this well, and that is Train with a hook as he hooks Graceful, then goes back into the hallway. I think that's probably it, though. I mean, Train can be good, but he is 1v3 right now. Jake comes back in, and Vosk comes back in. They're not giving this up just yet.
No, they're still coming back in, and did Train delay enough? That is the question right now, and the answer might surprise you. Not trying to go full clickbait, but they're bringing it back to some extent here. This should not be happening. Splyce still holding strong here, taking down Jake. The Earth Shatter connects from Super. And oh my goodness, this is far more than LG Evil could expect. Are they pulling this back, Hex?
Well, I mean, they're going to boost the Diva right now to try to get some damage in, but no, not on the point. You invested so much in this stall and just does not get a foot on the point. They could still be fighting for the point right now, but that is finally going to be it. That was one of the strangest and or coolest defenses I've seen on this map in a long time.
If they had brought that back, that would have been huge. It didn't quite work out that way, but it got closer than it should have, and part of that is Splyce just not finishing their plate when it was laid out in front of them. Either way, Splyce now with a decent ult setup, moving in the second, Graceful. Lots of packed up enemies for him to dice. Here comes the Blade, moving in, slashing through, finds Rob 420, gets a good deflection, and Graceful has found his men. This should be Splyce moving his payload rather deeply into second.
A little bit of stall out. This might end up working out kind of okay as Jake got a couple of late kills, but the reinforcement path is so long for them to get back in here that even by the time they get back in, they'll have 6 while the other team has 4, but those 2 remaining are going to come back. So we're going to have a full reset here. Both teams are going to be at full health, and now the high ground is up for grabs as that's what LG Evil wants to target right away.
LG Evil, they have the sound barrier, and I don't think Avast is going to wait too long to use it. There's the barrier, and here comes Jake. Tac visor up, but nothing is in his sights right now. He's going further back. He goes in for a deeper flank, but the sound barrier is going to ruin his day. Meanwhile, Baby Bay, attack visor of his own, doesn't have great targets, is going to get nullified by the defensive matrix, and actually has to back this up a bit. Picks up Rob 420, but feels like it's too little too late. But as I say that, Splyce is making more of this than they really should be. Suddenly, they get the last few kills. Baby Bay is still healthy, and they might fight this back yet as Vol is out of defensive matrix and out of his mech. Oh no, Baby Bay, why? Knocked off to his death.
That's fine. He can take that in flight and just know that he did his job, because the real turning point of that fight was when Jake and Baby Bay faced off against each other in a soldier 1v1, and Jake was unable to hit the Helix rocket while Baby Bay connected with his. That was a big fight. It's not over yet, as they will come out. They actually boost Vol on the Diva to get onto the point here, and Jake will take down Remix. It's a good start to the fight.
Super has a hammer, and he wants to share it with everyone right now. Hexus could be a great Earth Shatter if he can line it up. There's no shields in his way, just people who can't defend. And in fact, the fight is won before he even has to drop it. Now we're down to 30 seconds, and Super's still the man with the plan here. Not a lot of ults on the field. We've seen him win games with Earth Shatters for LG Evil before. Let's see if he can do it again.
It's a nice departing Helix to take down the Graceful. Late there, they will have to wait a couple more seconds for him to get back on, which means they're probably going to have to try to push this cart with 5 instead of 6, and they're pushing into a rough spot. It's going to be a Primal Rage from Remix right away. There it goes. Popped off.
Well, he knocked Super way out of the fight, but he's going to come back in and just sneakily drop this hammer, perhaps. Coming back in, 4 versus 4. Charges in, and no, they get knocked off the point entirely. The hammer gets dropped only for fun at the very end.
Well, pretty easy win condition now for LG Evil. Just get to second point. Of course, easier said than done, especially on a map like Eichenwald's. But It's definitely doable here. I was really surprised at their defensive strategy there, so it leads me to believe, just guessing, that they've been putting in some time and some different strategies on this map. Maybe their offense comes out with something a little bit odd as well.
We'll have to see. This certainly makes things very difficult for Splyce going forward here, because it's not just holding on last. Last does not exist in this game anymore, because if LG Evil is able to get to the door of second, not even second fully, that will be it. They will take the map and they will take the series. So for Splyce, it does feel like their best chance here is going to be a hold on first, and barring that, they're going to need Baby Bay to just utterly control the high ground, which is the biggest high ground in the game, and just shut down LG Evil consistently for a rather long period of time. It's not an easy win condition for Splyce, but that is what they have to do if they want to extend the series to a final map number 5.
Yeah, going forward in this tournament, if LG Evil does end up taking this would be a map I don't want to play them on, and I think I would start picking maps against LG Evil based on maps that you can effectively play Reinhardt on, because Super, as good as his Winston was on Control, I think his Reinhardt is still very, very good in my book. I love the style in which he plays. Again, I bring this up every time, but it reminds me of Fraggy, it reminds me a bit of NIP, and this is a map that you can effectively play Reinhardt on all throughout the map, first through last point, and I would want to take that away from LG and make Super play something else.
Well, we are going to get an answer as to how this goes down, as the LG Evil offense, going back to the basics. In an era of deep dive, sometimes you just need to bring out the meat, as they're going to be coming in with this 3-tank offense. And I gotta say, beware of Train's hooks here, because this is the guy who has made things happen for LG Evil in similar situations. And LG Evil, they just get to walk right in Hex. This is a great opening for them.
Yeah, everyone's just giving up a lot of free space. This rotation has been very odd. That's a great opening kill from Jake.
Jake is right in there. This building has been re-accommodated by LG Evil as they take 2 with ease. That is how you get thrown right off of something that is rightfully yours. And Jake just piling on right now. No one on Jake in the back. His own version of Baby Bay here, as they have bigger problems, literally in the form of the tanks in their face. In the end, LG Evil takes this effortlessly, and that is the exact opposite of what Splyce needed if they're going to win this map.
Hey, the theory is that you can run triple tanks into triple DPS. It just depends on if your tanks can do the damage necessary. Tanks do a lot of damage in this game, and if you can do more damage than the DPS, who are squishier and don't necessarily have the huge burst damage, then you're going to be in good position. You're seeing that happen right now. They've got damage, they've got 3 DPS, it's just not enough. Maybe that's target calling, maybe it's picking out a single target, but LG Evil is running this death ball, not allowing you to pick out a single target.
Well, LG Evil, it's a buddy system. So long as you're all together, clearly you can't get lost. Something along those lines, but they're about to have a nano visor up for this next fight, so Graceful stuck with the Mission Impossible theme playing in his head as he wants to cleave through with the Dragon Blade, but there's a lot of things in his way right now. With Michael going down, now they can focus on him even more. But something needs to stop LG Evil here, but guess what? Not gonna be Graceful. The hook seals his doom.
He had no business going in there to begin with. That was 1v4. I mean, I guess the bright side here is that they forced out ultimates as Jake cleans up the rest of the field. And now Jake's going to be able to just sit up front and camp on these doorways. Train is also hanging out up here looking for hooks. Does not find what he's looking for with that fishing hook, and he's going to have to back up. Michael's got to be careful, can't chase this too deep. And they need to find some way to reestablish here.
Well, we're getting close to the yellow box victory, and they're coming in off the flank. Super, watching the flank, ready with the hammer. 5 versus 5 to open this out. Baby Bay drops down, and the hammer is there. It's a beautiful hammer by Super, knocking down 3, smashing Remix against the wall, and the path is clear. LG Evil on the way to victory, and they have to Transcendence just to get on the payload. He's getting blocked back by the whole hog. Oh my goodness, Shake finally gets the payload, but is hooked, taken down, removed from the point, and Splyce now in the danger zone as they desperately try and fight this back, but it is looking grimmer and grimmer as almost every kill goes the way of LG Evil.
The only thing that can kill Super is gravity as he gets knocked off. Anti-heal down on Remix, all over with the crying unless Michael's got unknown heroics in him. Oh god, this is such a brutal point.
Hey, he bought enough time here for Graceful. No! Graceful body blocked off of it, not able to get back on. And that's going to be LG Evil taking the series in the end. Splyce knocked out. We'll be seeing more of LG Evil tomorrow.
The last thing I want to see from LG Evil is super on Reinhardt. I mean, time and again, and maybe I'm overstating it because some of these games are just bonkers, but his Earth Shatters are good, his aggression is good. Make him play Winston, and his Winston's not even bad, but Jake also had one of his better 76 maps.
I've got you in my sights.
So, play the game coming up here, and why not? Jake definitely had a good game of it, and I gotta say for Jake, who has been more up and down as of late, it was a better showing for him, where we don't really know what LG Evil we're going to get, where there was a point where we could always expect LG Evil to put on a strong performance. They've struggled recently, and yet they pulled it together and did fix some of their issues on Hybrid by the time Eichenwald came around.
Yeah, Splyce should be a team to watch. I still think they're rising. I don't think they're quite on the level of LG Evil, but this is, I think, a really interesting tournament because we have, excuse me, we have a lot of teams that are questionable. You know, a lot of teams we have questions about, and we're trying to get some answers. You look at Rise Nation, you look at LG Evil, even Immortals, you look at CLG. I think at the end of this, we will have a bit of a hierarchy more than less figured out, and LG Evil, just when they play their tanks, they look very, very difficult to beat, especially against this dive style offense where tanks can really soft counter it, at least sometimes hard counter it.
It was interesting, and I think the bigger part that was interesting is that I remember back when the Lucio changes came out, where you had a period where the pro community was going, guys, this is going to be the rise of people going quad tank and just sticking with the Lucio at all times. And then it didn't really happen. People stuck with Rogue style because, in part, Rogue was beating everyone with that style. And yet from LG Evil, we did see a little bit of follow through on Theorycraft that people thought was going to happen a while back. So it is interesting to see them get some degree of value from that back on Eichenwald. Either way, though, that is our final match of the night. Hex, any final thoughts here before we take a look at the bracket and mention our giveaway one last time?
Yeah, I was just going to look at our giveaway here. Of course, we're giving stuff away and we have predictions. So where you want to go to that is cyberpowerpc.cevo.com/giveaway for our giveaway and /predictions for predictions. We're giving away Intel Core processors, solid state drives, keyboards, jerseys, mouse pads. You want to get in on this, make sure that you're making all your predictions so you can win those. And if you don't feel like you can predict it, because hey, it's Overwatch, who can predict this kind of game, just go to the giveaway. That's what I would do. We're just going to give you stuff. You don't have to do anything for it. So make sure you enter those, cyberpowerpc.cevo.com/giveaway.
All right, guys, that's Hex. I'm ZP. We'll be back tomorrow with Sideshow and Bren, and of course, more of the CyberPowerPC Spring Overwatch Invitational. It all ends tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here today, and we'll see you guys